Yes, good day, class. We are meeting this afternoon to just do our final revision on paper one in 2025 academic year. Let's just do that, and then we make sure that we are ready for our final examinations. We get excellent marks without wasting any time. You can see this is a November examination, and we are working on paper one, grade 10 economics. I was saying that you should note that this is revision scope. I'm sure that you know what you mean by scope. It's a guideline towards revision of your towards your revision for your end of year examinations. And then check again that we are trying to explain and relate to every other concept that might arise, and relative information that you need to know as with regards to the question that you are pasted on the board here. So without wasting any time, I want you to understand that every time when you go to examinations, instructions are always very important. The instructions over the whole paper, instructions per section, and instructions per question. You must always note that you don't fail because of such simple things. So, without wasting any time, let's go straight to our paper. Let's go straight to our paper. Section A is given that it's compulsory, and it is actually 30 marks. So this is a multiple choice question, or these are multiple choice question that we are given, and then which one of the following does not fall within the economics field of study? Which one do not follow to which one of the following does not fall into or fall within the economics field of study? The economics field of study scarce resources. The reason we talk about economics, the reason why we have to worry about savings, why we should worry about economics is because human needs are insatiable and there is scarce resources. So scarcity, it actually facilitates, or it actually initiated economics. Choice is very important again. When scarcity arises, there is also the idea of choice. We are saying again that human needs are insatiable. There are too many of them. So because of that, there is an idea, or there is a concept that comes in where people must prioritize. Choices must be made. Therefore, it has to do with economics. And then we are saying what people should buy and opportunity cost. Lastly, it falls into what? Into the field of economics. Opportunity cost, it actually the cost of foregoing the best second alternative in decision making or choice making criteria. So opportunity cost, that cost of foregone alternative, is also part of economics. So which one? The one that does not fall within the field of economics, is what people should buy. What people should buy does not fall within the field of economics, but all these, they are the premises from which economics is built and derived from. It is derived from opportunity cost, the idea of scarce resources, and also the concept of choice. They are quite correct when we talk about economics. The term that best describes the fact that people have unlimited needs and wants within limited resources to satisfy them is what I guess that I have already talked about, that to say that the pro the choice, I mean the term that describes the fact that people have unlimited needs. The needs of people are not limited, and ones with limited resources to satisfy them, uh, they've got they've got limited uh, resources to satisfy them. However, the needs are quite a lot. So, which term best describes that? It is the economic problem. The economic problem. It actually makes the reason for that. The term we are saying economic problem, to say that what best it describes the fact that people have unlimited needs. People needs are insatiable. Human needs are insatiable, they are unlimited, and however, we have got limited resources. So the economic problem therefore comes in the idea of achieving and meeting the cost obligations of those unlimited needs are quite broad enough that, I mean, they are too big enough that people cannot be able to meet them. So what we need to understand is that the idea of people having unlimited needs is because of the economic problem, wealth, affordability, a capacity to do that. It is not, it is actually the economic problem that it describes that. Therefore, it is a, when human is added to the secular flow model, it is known as dash. When Newman is added to the circular flow model, it is known as, this is when you talk about the circular flow model, we are talking about the movement of factors for production within the economic within the economic sector. So now what we are talking about, the factors of production are actually the land, the man, we talk about the land, the human resources, and many other, which must also be interacting within a closed or open circular flow model. So now, when man is added to the circular flow model, it is known as injection. It is an addition. An addition is injection activities that enables or that boosts, that increases the availability or the creation of man within the economy. We call them injections. When we talk about leakages, this has to do with the loss of money or movement of money from an economic cycle outside its economic cycle. We mean, like, for example, South African rands, when they are used to buy goods outside the country, we call that a leakage, because that money is supposed to be used within the economic borders of South Africa. So leakages, they have to do with all monetary movements or of all actions that results in money being spent or being taken out of the economic cycle of the country. We call that leakages. Obviously, profits, we talk about the benefits or the returns that we earn in terms of business when expenses are less than what? When expenses are less than when expenses are less than when we have got less expenses, and therefore we are able to make profit. uh Profit uh can also be defined in terms of economic profit, normal profit, and so forth. But therefore, I mean, but what we need to understand is that these are injections. When money is added to the circular flow model, the income an individual has available for spending and saving after paying tax is known as, when people, or I mean, an individual has for spending and savings after paying tax. After paying tax, this is called disposable income. Disposable is to say that is the money an individual is able to spend, is able to use for that. Gross, it means before deductions. We are saying gross. This means before deductions are made. It is actually income before deductions, which is actually to say total earnings of a person before deductions are taken out of that money. As a whole, we call that gross. So disposable is actually what is left after tax has been paid, and then we call that that man is available for spending. It's called disposable because the person is able to use it. It is available to be used by the individual. It is available to be spent on the individual's interest. Uh, During the Middle Ages, road networks developed along popular routes due to Middle Ages road networks developed along popular routes. This is due to popular routes. It was due to the Middle Ages. We are talking about some years ago. What has been causing networks of roads to be developed? We talk about the development of transport network. It was because of issues to do with the trade. I'm sure I remember very well that people used to use, people trade actually uh, facilitated globalization. So trade is the primary activity that caused infrastructural development, which also, of course, has been supported by many other activities. But on top of the best option is what is trade. Is trade. Self-sufficiency cannot self-sufficiency meaning to say that a country can do things on its own or an individual. Therefore, there is no need for development of road networks. Otherwise, it cannot be so much as compared to trade. Visiting friends and relatives does not it cannot be an economic reason for the development of roads. And then tourism is not actually the best answer, which is again making us see the best answer in this respect. The fields of study that deals with customs and practice of local and international commerce is called deals with customs and the practice of local and international commerce. Uh, that is called, we call that mercantile law. Mercantile law, it deals mercantile law, or mercantile law, it actually identifies that it is actually the field of study that deals with customs. We talk about the practice of local and international commerce. That is that political, social science, common law, these are some other disciplines of study. If we can actually look at them, they don't consider customs. We cannot talk about political science in terms of customs and local and international commerce. Commerce, it is well dealt with under mercantile law. Which of the following population groups can be classified as economically active? Economically active, meaning to say that this is a group of people who contribute to the economy. They contribute to the economy. How do we know that they are still, we are saying they are still employed and working? They can be employable, or they are still able to work. They are still working. Hence, what we call is that the active group, population group classified as economically active is 15 to 60 years. I'm sure if you can look at this, you have seen that people are able to be very economically contributing to the economy because of their energy, because of their working, because they are still active from the age of 15 to 60 years. 14 and younger, this is called child labor. This is called child labor, and actually it's a prohibitive action. It's a prohibitive act, very prohibitive, prohibited act that is not allowed. And then people 65 years and older, we talk about these are pensioners. These are people who goes to pensioner, and then people who are 14 years and younger, we call that learners attending school. Obviously, they are still scholars. We need them to be still academians. They still have to go to school. Therefore, they cannot be able to contribute in terms of working. They are still supposed to go to school and finish what they have to do. So the best answer is what is A. The difference between the birth rate and death rate of a country is called the difference between birth rate and death rate of a country. We call that natural population growth. Natural population growth. When we look at people, the difference between birth rate and death rate, out of all those who are born, we are saying those who are born, the born versus those one who have died. We remain with a natural growth. We remain with a natural growth of population. People who are actually left living and surviving out of all the people who were born. So we don't consider the immigrants. We don't talk about people coming into from other countries. We don't talk about any other reasons which might affect the population dynamics. But the population dynamics, it is actually premised on the survival rate of people out of the numbers that have been born against those who died. So The ones who died, we actually call that death rate or mortality rate. So we call that a natural population growth. Population deficit, we are just talking about a low or in a far less number of individuals or population within a country such that it cannot sustain the economic activities of the country. And then migration rate, we are talking about the rate at which people are leaving a country to go to another country. We call that migration rate. How many people over a given period of time are prepared or are ready or are leaving a country forever, whatever reasons. We call that migration rate. And then active population, we talked about that. We said this is the 15 to 60 population age group of people who are able to work within an economy. That is what you should understand. So the right answer is what? It's B, which actually identifies the natural population growth. We are given question 1.2, which we should match the answers with what is given there. Production, uh, tertiary industry, specialization, HIV and AIDS, information settlement, informal sector, all these terms, they have got their definitions, which appears on the other column there. So production 1.2, production, we must understand that production is a process uh, whereby an entrepreneur combines available resources and returns them into some sort of product. Something is being manufactured. Manufacturing is taking place. So what we need to understand is that production, it is actually matching with what? With D. Production is matching with the D, which is the process whereby an entrepreneur combines. An entrepreneur, we're talking about a person who is willing and who is capable of starting a business and then using the resources in order to produce something that can be useful to people. And then tertiary industry, from the list that we are given here, tertiary industry, it actually identifies production activities involved in the distribution of goods and provision of services to the public. We call that, it can also be called ancillary services. Tertiary services, it can also be called services industry. We can also call it services industry, which is a production activities involved in the distribution of goods and provision of services to the public. I say it can also be called ancillary services. It can also be called services industry. It has to do with it actually focuses on provision of services. It actually focuses on services functions. And then specialization from the option that are given there, specialization, it actually focuses on business, it specializes in the production of one product or service, working specifically in the produce of one service. It is production of one product or service. A business that not do many of them, but it focuses specifically on concentrating and allocating all the resources that it has in producing a specific product. Therefore, we specialize. So therefore, again, businesses or countries can be able to become experts within that field of production that they are in. And then when we talk about exchange, question number 4, exchange, it can also, from the list that we have there, exchange, it can also refer to the process whereby products move from one producer to consumer and is called trade. When we are exchanging, we are trading. Exchanging, it involves trading, which also means that the right answer is C, the process whereby products move from the consumer, producer to consumer, and is called trade. We exchange. That can be barter trade. That can be also other monetary trade that we have of now, that is called exchanging. People are still exchanging goods and services because of either the need for money or a certain product. And then 2.5 HIV and AIDS. HIV and AIDS, from the list that we have, it can also means it can also affect or can also relate to uh, it can also relate to F, leads to the loss of economically active family members and social problems. It leads to the loss, HIV and AIDS. It leads to the loss, HIV and AIDS leads to the loss of economically active family members, and social problems can also arise. Social problems, we are talking about family problems, we are talking about societal problems where children are left as orphans, or there is no support. There are quite a lot of every other related societal problems that arises from effects of HIV and AIDS. And then immigration, immigration that can also refer to, it also refers to people, foreigners that enter a country on a permanent basis. Number five, number six, we are saying immigration, it can also it refers to H, H, which is foreigners that enter a country on a permanent basis, is number six. Number seven, uh, information settlement. Information settlement, information settlement, it can also relate to uh, uh, number seven, it can also relate to development includes micro businesses like street vendors, local, that leave their country on a permanent basis. No, we are saying number six, number seven, we are saying it can mean developed as on the outskirts of this of South African cities as a result of housing uh housing blockage. And then we say informal settlement, uh informal sector. Informal sector, it actually includes micro buses like street vendors, businesses that are running unregistered, where we find people doing business in locations on pavements. People, they do business everywhere so that they can be able to make money out of being formally employed. So we call that what informal sector. It works to create a living or sustain a living within a country from people. I mean, as the government cannot be able to create employment for everyone. So we call this informal sector. Uh, we need to go to question number 1.3, which we write only the term next to the question number, and then check again that abbreviations, acronyms, and examples will not be accepted. So what is expected is what is the perfect answer to the question. The assumption that the assumption that means all other things being equal, assumption meaning that all other things being equal, we call that the ceteris paribus. It's an assumption that means that all things being equal, the ceteris paribus, the best value of the best foregone alternative. We said the best value of the best foregone alternative. We've been defining this one. We said that in decision making, there is always a strike of balance, or there is always competing options. So amongst the competing options, the best one is actually taken. So what we are saying is the value of the best foregone alternative. When we say an alternative is not is foregone, it means it has been left out. So that which is left out, we define that as opportunity cost. It is an opportunity cost because it is not being considered. So it can be a cost such that, I mean, because we are saying in decision making or in alternative criteria that has not been taken in that respect, it will result in what? In an opportunity being missed or being an expense. So an economy that excludes the foreign sector, it is called a closed economy. I was talking about the circular flow model, which we say that we have got open and what and closed. So an economy that excludes the foreign sector, we are saying it does not have the import or export business. So it is defined as what? As closed economy. It is called a closed economy. And then the worldwide interaction of markets and production, uh, the worldwide interaction of markets and production. I think you still remember that we said the world is one market, globalization. It is called globalization when where business operates on one single web. We have got international commerce, or we have got e-commerce, where businesses, individuals in South Africa are able to sell and buy in foreign markets. We can go to Asian markets, well as we are in South Africa. We can also have uh, American businesses also being done and run and exploiting and benefiting in South Africa, whereas they are there. So what we are saying is that it's a worldwide interaction of markets and production, which now allows people, consumers, to be able to buy and say and test products everywhere in the world without physically going there. But it's because of the telecommunication systems that we have, so that it gives that interface that causes that concept or that idea of globalization. And then an organization of workers who combine to achieve common goals such as better working conditions, we call that a labor union. Labor union, it actually exists in order to ensure that employees are unionized, employees are working together as a one team, and then they actually have a common goal in order to ensure that workplace relationships, workplace conditions are well maintained and are conducive for people and everyone. We have got the proportion of economically active population that finds employment in the formal sector of the economy. We call that labor force participation rate. Economically active population that finds employment in the formal sector of the economy. Formal is to say, in the formal, we say in the recognized, in the approved, or it is in the formal, meaning to say that it is what? It is approved. It is the approved economy. So therefore, we call that labor force participation rate. Labor force participation, labor force participation rate. We are going to go into microeconomics, which is gonna also take us some 30 minutes. Let's just quickly go onto it and see what's happening. And then the question is saying name two broad approaches to economics. Name two broad approaches. Name two broad approaches to economics. I want you to understand that this is also an interesting concepts or ideas that we need to take note of. Two broad uh, approaches to economics. One, we have got the macroeconomics. Macroeconomics. Macroeconomics class, it's actually a branch of economics that studies the behavior and performance of an economy as a whole. When we look at the behavior and performance of an economy as a whole, and then this actually also focuses it actually focuses also on aggregate changes such as inflation. We look at unemployment. We look at growth, economic growth, interest rate, GDP, and all other things. In other ways, macroeconomics, it actually examines how the economy wide phenomena affect all participants and uses indicators like gross domestic product to measure the performance of these. So we have got macro, meaning to say at a larger scale, and then we have got two microeconomics, the microeconomics, which is actually almost opposite, or actually the opposite of this, which is also a branch of economics that studies behavior of individuals, households, and firms in making decisions about allocation of scarce resources. We've been talking about the idea of economics that resources are scarce, however, human needs are insatiable. There are two men. So when we identify and understand the behavior of individuals and households in their decision making process that affects their resource allocation, we are looking at microeconomics. And then I want you to understand that it focuses on how these entities interact in specific markets, and then this also affecting and examining factors like supply and demand, production cost, pricing, and also market structures. That is what we look at when we look at microeconomics, or that's what microeconomics considers. We have got the next one, which is Keynesian. We say that is Keynesian. Keynesian again is actually Keynesian economics. What I want you to take note about again is that it's a theory that emphasizes the role of government intervention to manage economic fluctuations, emphasizes the role of government intervention, government participation in the management of economic fluctuations by influencing aggregate demand. This is Keynesian economics. So when we look at it, you should know that the one which involves or which caters on government intervention, it is a Keynesian economics, which actually tries to manage fluctuations by influencing aggregate demand. I am sure that you still remember the issues of the fiscal policy and monetary policies. Those are the instruments which are used under Keynesian economics. Those are the instruments. And then finally, we can talk about the monetarist economics, uh, monetarist, monetarist economics. It's actually a school of thought that emphasizes the role of the money supply in determining economic fluctuations and price levels, with a key, with actually price levels, with a key belief that controlling the money supply is the most effective way to manage inflation. So I'm sure that if you are economics students, you have at one time looked at issues to do with inflation, or what is inflation, the constant increase in commodity prices at the expense of the current value, which is one of the key problems again, or key challenges that might also impede uh, the economic development within a nation or a state. So monetarist economics, it actually emphasizes the role of money supply in the role of money supply in the economy in determining economic fluctuations. and price levels with that belief of controlling money supply. I'm sure you have seen that this was also actually posted and supported or developed by economist Milton Friedman, the Monetarism, who actually put this into motion, explaining that these are some of the issues that need to be looked at. Money supply in defining and controlling inflation rate. When people have got money, they tend to spend more, and then that would also increase or can actually inflate or can actually amplify demand, which at the end of the day, that would cause inflation to happen. So all those areas of concern, which I'm just bringing to your attention in order for you to be able to perceive and understand all these concepts that I'm bringing or we want to understand or we want to discuss. The next question is saying, how will taking mathematics at school help you to become an economist? The idea or the importance of mathematics in economics. Actually, maths is all about understanding figures. I guess you understand that in terms of economics, we cannot be economists if we are not able to predict and to foresee and also to set control measures. Limits are controlled in terms of variables, which are figures or which are numerical. So, mathematics actually it helps people to understand graphs and also interpret figures, which are key in understanding economics. Mathematics, mathematics actually involves understanding understanding figures and interpretation of graphs, which are quite important, which are very key. They are quite key in in determining economic trends. Determining economic the trends can be understood because of people who have got a knowledge of figures. We are saying in order for people to understand economics, you should be able to understand figures. You should be able to calculate values and therefore set or assert yourself or present and prepare yourself for a certain experience based on a certain trend of performance that is given by graphs. So graphical interpretation is the basis on which economics can be discussed. We cannot discuss economics in vain, but the substance of economics is actually rooted in understanding figures and uh, uh, graphical trends. We are given the diagram, which also we need to look at and answer one's resources. And we have got scarcity, choice, opportunity, cost, economic goods, all that we are given. The question is saying identify, identify, identify the concept that describe goods and services that individuals can live without. Uh, we are saying the concept that describes goods and services that individuals can live without, that can actually, we are saying those goods that people can live without, we call that, that can be, those are called, we call them what? We call them wants. Once we can say these are things that you can just want to have, but even if you don't have them, you can still be able to live without them. We say those are ones. Mention one question that economists ask to solve economic problem mention one question that economists mention one question that economists ask to solve the economic problem. We can say one, what to be produced. What is it that needs to be produced? What to be produced? We need to know economists need to know what has to be produced in order for us to maximize or economize on our resources. What to be produced. We can also say what to be produced, identify what exactly need to be produced against the limited resources that are there. And then we can also talk about for whom will it be produced, for whom will it be produced, for whom it will it be produced is also another question. What to be produced, and then for whom is it gonna be produced? It can also, we are producing that which we said we must produce, but it is for who? Who are we producing it that good? And then how long it is going to be produced, the time period, how long can it be? How long is it going to be produced? Is it going to be? How long is it going to be produced? Is also another question. These are various questions to say that what you say it must be produced, but how long is it going to be produced? So therefore, we can be able to tell that over such a period of time, we will be having a supply of that what is to be produced. And then describe the term scarcity. Scarcity is actually exists when limited resources are faced with unlimited what? Unlimited ones. It actually exists. It's a phenomenon that exists. Scarcity exists. It exists when limited resources, when limited resources, when limited resources are faced with unlimited needs and wants. Limited resources are faced with unlimited needs and wants. If you can understand it very well, we say that scarcity is when we say there is not enough. Not enough of what? We are saying resources are scarce. The scarcity of resources are prompted for us to do economics because the resources are limited. The resources are limited. Resources are limited and unlimited needs and wants. So we need to economize. We need to build a foundation on which what to be produced is very important. Explain why economics is referred to as a social science. It is a social science because it focuses on the analysis of what? Of people and their behavior. It has got to do with an understanding. It provides an understanding of people and their behavior, of people and their behavior. Hence, it is a social science. When we look at social science, we look at behavior of people. It actually affects the social fabrics of people. It actually focuses. It focuses on understanding key performance indicators. Performance indicators indicators that affects the social fabrics, the social network, we say the social fabrics of a society. When we are looking in a society, in order for us to understand it better, it is premised on understanding of economics. In order for people to survive, we must be able to strike a balance upon resources and what people want. If the resources are not scarce, if resources are scarce, there is always need for a proper management of those resources, which is just also very true that our resources are just scarce. It's a natural understanding which we know that resources are always scarce. Why do people have to make choices? Why do people have to make choices? Why do people have to make choices? People make choices because because of because of the scarcity problems. We are saying because it is because of scarcity of resources. Resources are scarce, so people have to make choices because of scarcity of resources. They must derive the best out of what they have. They must make the best decision. People make choices because of shortage of resources to satisfy their needs and wants. Because of shortage of resources, because of shortage of resources to satisfy their needs and wants. Their needs and wants are quite complex. So we have to make choices such that that can also assist in terms of making sure that. So that is one other key reason that we can give in terms of choice making. We are given the diagram and answer the questions that follow. This is a business cycle, levels of business activity. We are given the time, and then this we have got the up and down swings, which is trending against the trend line that is provided there. So the question is saying provide the diagram above with an appropriate heading. Uh, this actually, I'm sure you know that this is called business cycle. This is actually a business cycle. Business cycle. This actually tries to explain the business performances over time in terms of the dynamics that a business experiences caused by availability of resources, caused by operational factors, every other factors that can interfere in terms of the business survival. We call that the business cycle. It tries to explain the dynamics in business operations over time. And then name the point labeled C from the above diagram. Point is the lowest point of the business cycle. We call this a trough. It is called a trophy. It is the lowest turning point of a business cycle. Lowest turning point of a business cycle. We call that what? We call that a trophy. It is called a trophy. It is called a trophy. And then briefly describe the term trend line. Trend line, it is actually a line showing the general direction of economic activities. It's just showing a general a line that identifies the general direction of economic activities. We are saying economic activities are measured against that trend line. So what happens is that the trend line is showing the up and down swings. As you can see, we are able to perceive the times when the business is doing good, the times when the business is booming, which we can say the peak points, and also we can also identify the time period from which the business was at low up to the time that it started to go up. The down and up swings are able to be actually perceived and calculated based on the trend line to say the steepness from which, how long does it take for a business to rejuvenate or to regenerate after a period of being on the knees. So we are able to understand those variations based on what? On the trend line. Explain the effects of a depression on employment level. Uh, the effect of depression on employment level. So during depression, many companies actually they go down or they scale down on their production, and ultimately many workers are what are retrenched, causing extensive unemployment. So effect of depression forces businesses to cut down in their levels of operations, in their levels of production operations. So what we need to understand is that this causes this resulting in uh, employees being laid off, employees being retrenched, resulting in employee retrenchment. So retrenchment now obviously affects employment. So in other words, depression causes unemployment. Depression actually causes unemployment. This increases unemployment rate. It increases unemployment rate. Depression increases unemployment rate because organizations, employees, I mean, the corporate world as a whole is suffocated that it cannot sustain or maintain its employees in its endeavor. It has to cut down on the numbers of people whom it is employing. So we call that depression. And then how is the economy affected during prosperity phase? Prosperity phase is actually it's actually a phase during which business is doing well. Uh, it is generally the time of general business uh, actually doing better, and then consumer spending is high. Prosperity phase, it is a time period whereby business is doing better, whereby business are doing good. So what happens is that we have got a high spending capacity from consumers. Spending is high. So it actually, how does it affect businesses? Businesses, they actually employ many businesses make more profits. Businesses make more profits. Businesses do make they make more profits because of increased demand, because of increased consumer spending, increased consumer spending. People are buying a lot, therefore companies are able to have many people employed. So how do this affect economy? It actually boosts the economy. It actually boosts the economy. Employment is high. Employment is high. And then we can just talk about a time period through which it actually there is high production, resulting employment is high. Thus, that is high production. Production output is high. Obviously, when we have got high production, it means our company or our economy is doing better, and then that would also that would also affect our that would also increase our business, our economic performance, and then differentiate between free and economic goods. Differentiate between free and economic goods. So free goods are goods that have utility but are of abundance. They are so abundant and they have to and they have no economic cost. Free goods. Free goods they have utility but are of abundance. They have utility but are so abundant. Utility but are so abundant. They are so abundant and they have no economic cost. They have no economic cost. They have no economic cost. What you need to understand is that they do not require any effort or resources to obtain and have no market or exchange value. They do not require any effort. Do not. They do not require any effort. Any effort or resources to obtain resources to obtain them, and they have no market, and they have no market what? They have no market or exchange value, and they have no market or exchange value to obtain, and they do have no market and exchange value. So hence we call them free goods. Therefore, we call them free goods. They cannot be counted or as wealthy since they are no or they do not have economic value. They do not have economic value. These examples of free goods, e.g., for example, we can talk about this can include sunshine. This can also be they are examples of what? These are examples of free goods. So economic goods, anyway, when you talk about economic goods, they have utility, are scarce, and they have got a positive economic value. Economic goods, they have utility, they have utility, they do have utility, they are scarce, meaning to say you cannot get them, are scarce, they are scarce, and they have a positive economic value, and they have a positive economic, they have a positive economic value when we look at them. And then what you need to understand again, they are limited in supply and require resources or effort to produce or obtain them. They actually, we are saying one other thing is that they are limited in supply. They are limited. They are limited in supply. They are limited in supply and require resources or effort. Require resources or effort. They require resources or effort for you to get them. For require resources or effort to obtain them. To obtain them. So what we can say is that we can give examples such as food and even vehicles. We can talk about, e.g., we can talk about food. We can talk about cars. We can talk about clothes. We are saying all types of goods that we can say that they actually you need to work for. You need to for you to get them. You must work hard for them. They require resources. You need to, for you to obtain them. You require resources. They have got an economic value. They are limited in their supply. So what we are saying is that these are called economic goods. They are called economic goods, and you should understand that when we look at them, they are also, they have a positive economic value in them. They have a positive economic value, and then that is what you call economic goods. So analyze the effectiveness of government in addressing the effectiveness of government. Analyze the effectiveness of government in addressing environmental problems. The effectiveness of government in addressing environmental problems. We can talk about how does the government ensure that environmental problems are taken care of. One, they actually through charging environmental tax to discourage the pollution during production processes. Government regulates pollution levels by charging uh, pollution tax, pollution tax, which we can say that I'm sure that you remember that this can also be called green tax, which we can also call green tax. I'm sure you have heard of that green tax. So what happens is that the government actually regulates or avoids pollution, tries to take care of the environment by charging people on pollution levels. We can also talk about educating people about the consequences of environmental pollution and also importance of recycling items or reusing them instead of throwing or dumping. Education and campaign. education and campaign. This has to do with education and campaign on importance of environmental management. Importance of environmental management. It's also one of the other areas through which government can also control and avoid what? Through which government can also control and avoid environmental degradation. Uh, these people are made aware of the importance of keeping a safe environment. We are to understand that government also encourage planting of trees as they can absorb carbon dioxide and then providing a cleaner environment. I think you have heard of National Tree Planting Day. Uh, we are saying encouragement of encouragement of planting trees, which we can say the National Tree Planting Day, National Tree Planting Day. National Tree Planting Day is very important. The government tries to observe that vegetation is important in sustaining environmental cleanliness by absorbing the most carbon gases that are emitted in the atmosphere. So therefore, promoting a green environment. And then we talk about provide the subsidies to encourage industries to use technology or also equipment that are environmentally friendly. Government subsidies, provision of government subsidies. These are also done to promote environmental technological investment, to promote investment in technology. That is very important in terms of sustaining our environment as well. Government actually promotes a clean environment by giving companies subsidies that are also supporting companies' capacity to invest on environmentally friendly mechanisms that keeps the environment clean also. We also want to identify and point out the idea of granting property rights so that people take care of things that they want, that belongs to them. Provision of property rights. Provision of property rights ensures it actually ensures that people take care of their property. It instills an idea of caring. Ensures that property rights ensures uh, full caring of people on resources, of people on property that they own, on property they own. Instead of this property not to be taken care of, government tries to enforce people to take care of them by giving property rights. So the property rights forces individuals to take care of the environment such that environmental management is what is improved. So what we are saying is that property rights is one of the mechanisms that government can as well put in place to promote and support this idea of what of hard working of citizens of individuals and business or corporate world as a whole. So we want to look at question 3.1. Name any two labor unions in South Africa. There are quite a lot of them. I'm sure that we have known these ones. We have got National Union of Mineral Mine Workers, which we talk about NAM. One, we have NAM. We're saying NAM, which I'm saying National Union of Mine Workers, which exists to take care of mine workers. NAM, it exists to take care of mine workers. It ensures that mine workers are not exploited. We talk about COSATU, the most commonest one, COSATU. COSATU, COSATU, what does it stand for? Congress of South African Trade Union, Congress of South African Trade Union. I'm sure quite a lot of us, we are quite aware of COSATU. And then we also talk about United Workers Union of South Africa, which we say number 3 is United Workers Union of South Africa. And then I can lastly maybe give you last example, which is the NEHAO. NEHAO. I'm sure that we have heard of this one, NEHAO, standing for National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union. Is also another type or another example of a what called a labor union. Why is it important for government to estimate the country's population growth? Government to estimate the importance of population growth. It is very important in order to understand that important indicator of the changing needs of the country's people, e.g., how great the burden will be in providing sufficient infrastructure and every other economic plannings. So it helps in uh, it helps in understanding population demands, population demand, understanding population demand, which you also to understand and estimate the degree of burden the government may be working on, We talk about, e.g., provision of social services, provision of water, can talk about electricity, we can talk about even basic infrastructure like roads. They are very important. We cannot be able to have enough resources apportionment if the government does not understand its population growth. So subsistence agriculture, identify subsistence agriculture occurs when farmers grow food crops to meet the needs of themselves and their families. That is subsistence. Agriculturalists target farm output for survival and for mostly for local requirements with no surplus. Subsistence peasants are people who grow what they eat. Subsistence agriculture, general features, small capital finance requirements, mixed cropping, limited use of agrochemicals, and improved varieties of crops and animals, little or no surplus yields for sale, use of crude or traditional tools. Talk about hoes and machetes as types of tools that are used in terms of subsistence farming or agriculture. The question is saying identify characteristics of self-sufficient societies. Uh, when we say self-sufficient, it means producing only to sustain their families. Farmers are producing only to sustain their families. So farmers grow food crops to meet the needs of themselves and their families alone. That is self-sufficient. Farmers grow food crops to sustain themselves and their families only, and their families and their families only. Name one feature of subsistence agriculture. These are quite a lot of them. General features, we are given all of these. These are the features that are there. Limited agrochemicals and improved varieties, little or no surplus yield for sale. There are quite a lot of them that are listed in the passage here. So what needs to be done is just for you to be able to understand that the answers you are getting them from the what? From the essay. Small capital, they need little capital to start their business. We talk about small capital mixed cropping in terms of their farms. Crops are not grown separately. They grow mixed crops. We talk about limited use of agrochemicals, limited use of agrochemicals. We talk about an improved varieties of animals and crops and improved varieties of animals and crops of animals and crops. We can name them. There are quite a lot. I'm saying these are listed here. This paragraph here, it actually gives all the characteristics that we are talking about. There are quite a lot of them. We cannot finish them, but I'm just mentioning but a few. Briefly describe the term barter trade. Briefly describe the term. Briefly describe the term barter trade. Barter trade. This is just exchanging one product for another for more or less the same value. That is barter trade. There is no money involved. Exchanging a product to another of more or same value, of more or same value. So that what it means is that no money is involved in this business. No money is involved or is used. The business is done without the use of money. And then what positive impact commercial farming have on economic growth? What positive impact commercial farming have on economic growth? Positive impact of commercial farming. When we talk about commercial farming, we are saying farmers are producing they are producing to sell to national and international markets. So it actually increases the economic activities, which can lead to increased what? Increased agriculture and manufacturing as well as production. It actually increases economic activity, increases economic activity. Commercial farming increases economic activity, which lead to increased what? Agricultural produce, which leads to increased agricultural produce, at the same time resulting in more production output. What you need to understand is that commercial farming, farmers are producing to sell, actually with an idea of ensuring that there is enough surplus for every market that is out there. The commercial farming is the one that makes us to have mini meal. It's the one that makes us to have all the green produce, even the meat that we have when we go to buy in supermarkets and other various markets. It is because of the supply that comes from commercial farming. So what I want you to understand is that economic activity increases because of increase in agricultural produce, which at the same time can also result in more production. That is one thing that you need to understand. Explain the importance of language and learning in the development of economies. The importance of language and learning in the development of economies. Actually, what you need to understand is that language enables the communication with others in business. For in language enables communication and trade among its members, among its different people. Among its different people. So obviously we are able to develop economies because of our language. People are able to associate. Discussion, engagement is done through language. That is very important. And then we also need to understand that communities need good education systems in order to develop knowledge and skills to produce goods. That is also very important. The communities they need good education. They require education. They require education systems in place. Education systems in order to develop education systems to acquire knowledge. To acquire knowledge and skills to produce knowledge and skills for them to produce goods. It is one of the key fundamentals that we can also not override, that you need to understand that in order for people and farmers and every other corporate individual out there to produce, there is need for education to be in place. There is need for people to be learned. When people are learned, they are able to produce effectively and also to meet the expectations of their people. That is one key thing that you need to understand in this respect. So we are given question point. We are given that working conditions of union and working conditions of union and non-union members that have got union and others that do not have. So it is private and public sector consideration, return paid leave, and you have got proportionate number of people bargaining coverage, no wage bargaining of any form. These are given in various percentages that are given here. So now the question is saying, identify the percentage of permanent non-workers permanent, permanent non-workers under public sector from the above table. Permanent non-workers, permanent non-union workers, non-union workers under the public sector from the above. Permanent non-union workers, we are saying from the public. We are talking about the public. We are considering this category here. That is where we are looking at. So what we need is that permanent non-union workers under public sector from the above. So we have got permanent non-union workers. This can be given as to say permanent contracts, which is given as to say this is 38.9%. It is given that it is 38.9%, 38.9%, which we can see that the question saying permanent non-union workers under the public sector. So we look at the permanent contracts, and then under public non-union, under non-union, we fall down into this category. We look into this category, and then we identify that is 38.9%. And then what does CCMA stands for? CCMA, I once gave this one again, is Commission for Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration. It's a conciliation. It's commission. Commission meaning to say send Commission of Conciliation. Commission of Conciliation. Commission of Conciliation, Mediation, and Arbitration. This is CCMA, an organization that exists to ensure that there is fair treatment of employee or employer-employee workman relationship. It is managed through the CCMA. So that is what we mean by CCMA, Commission of Conciliation, Mediation and Arbitration. It actually stands on behalf of reconciling relationships between employer and employee by mediating, by being an impartial member there, and then arbitrating, meaning to say adjudicating on the differences that are existing amongst the members that are involved within the context of conflict resolution that is being put forward. So now, briefly describe the term labor union. Briefly describe the term labor union. It is actually organization of workers aiming to improve wages and working conditions. Labor union is an organization of workers, aiming to improve, meaning to say to make better, improve wages and working conditions, to improve wages and working conditions in workplaces. So that is what a labor union. These people is workers, organization of workers that is targeting to improve wages and working conditions of people within a workplace. That's what we call labor union. And then explain the reason why workers would prefer to be to be union members. Obviously, we are saying there is a desire for protection of members for job security. Actually, people would go to be members of a trade union because they need to actually save, they actually promote their members, training and education, promotion as members, promotion as members, members in training and education. So when people are under a union, they are equally given a fair treatment that can enable them to be empowered, that can enable them to be trained. That is an advantage that they would desire. Also, there is also protection of their members on protect their members, job security, protecting members, job security. Job security is very important to ensure that if in any case they cannot be dismissed without proper hearing, without proper found premises for them to be fired from workplace. So job security is ensured through this union, and also regulate the relationship between workers and employers. For regulation of relationships between employers and workers relationship. It is very important that it is managed. Regulation of relationship in terms of work employer employee relationship. Those relationships that do not cause or that would not allow manipulation and also uh, uh, capitalization on others, and also negotiate improved wages and working conditions for their members. Negotiate improved wages and working conditions for members, for their members. It's also a reason for that. Negotiate improved working conditions. People would want to have improved working conditions for their members, and working conditions and wages, fair salaries comes as a result of that. And then how is arbitration used to solve disputes? How is arbitration used to solve disputes? Arbitration is used to solve disputes. How is that so? One, we are saying if disputes between the employer and employee cannot be resolved after the conciliation process, the matter will be referred to for arbitration. It actually allows resolution of matters between employer and employees. So now that if employer and employee cannot solve their own problems, arbitration can come into action in order to allow that the matters can be resolved. And then commission will hear both sides of the cases, uh, uh, provision of hearing of both sides of their stories. Both sides of their stories can be heard because of arbitration. Every party involved is given an opportunity to present his or her case, which is very important in terms of dispute resolution. And then arbitration actually listens to the case and determines the matter. Arbitration— let's say it hears the matter and determines determines the outcome, which can also be which can be fair to both parties. That can be fair to both parties, which is also a good thing. And then commission makes the ruling that is binding, and that the parties must adhere to. Commissioner, the commissioner makes the ruling. The ruling makes the ruling that is binding to both parties, but makes the ruling binding both parties, makes the ruling enforcing both parties to adhere to or comply. Both parties are forced to comply with it. And then lastly, let's look on immigration, discuss immigration and foreigners in terms of South Africa politics, South Africa population size, immigration, actually is foreigners entering the country on permit basis. Immigration refers to foreigners entering a country on approved permit basis. These people are allowed because they would want to work there. So what happens is that they actually aid the population in the country, cause an increase in population size. They actually cause an increase in the population size of the host country. Increase of the population size, that is an increase in population happens there. And then foreigners are people who are born in one country but move to another country. We talk about foreigners. Foreigners, these are people who come to stay or work in another country. In another country, they are not born. They are not born in. They come from another country and work in there or live there. We call those foreigners. And then what happens is that what happens again is that they cause an increase in population size. And then evaluate the influence of productivity. Evaluate the influence of productivity and skills on labor. One, we can say that all businesses employ workers that are able and that have skills to do the work that is required of them. Employers employ people with relevant skills to do the work expected of them, expected of them. When people are to be employed, employers, they desire or they look for people who have got the skills to do to offer and provide in terms of the job responsibilities that are that are required of them. Better skilled and trained the labor is, the better the productivity that person can be. The more skilled a person is, the better is his productivity. So we tend to understand that a person can be most useful if the person is skilled. A person who is skilled is more productive. There is less of wastage. There is less of accidents. There is less of repetition of work. So what we are saying is that there is more morale and efficiency and effectiveness is high. Therefore, that person is what that person can be better, can produce better than unemployed, I mean, than unskilled person. And then we also talk about we also need to look at the higher qualification and skills of a labor is, the easier it will be to get employment. The higher the qualifications of a person, the easier it can be, the easier it can be to be employed, because we are saying the person knows what is expected of him, so therefore the person can be easily employed. We also want to understand that workers with higher and better qualifications tends to be paid better, to be paid better and more than unskilled, than unqualified persons, than unqualified persons. So as you can see here, we are saying these are some of the conditions that you can discuss, given that there is a question which comes in that respect. So, class, I thank you very much for your time and all the best in these upcoming exams. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment, and also share our channel, because otherwise you will be left out. Not that Metric Hub is there for us and can never leave you alone. Let's work it together this way. Until we meet again in other upcoming videos. There is a lot coming, even during the holidays for next year. You know that we will prepare you when your classes start, when your lessons start. You'll be very, very, very ahead of everything. Let's keep connected. Keep subscribing to the channel. Keep following, and then all will be done. Thank you once again, and until we meet again.